going from a me to a we is now taking those powerful memories that you guys all have, and how do you articulate those memories into values that you can then articulate into a we. Start bringing other people on the team that may have similar values as you, and then you'll both, or all of you, will start to head towards the same vision of the company. Connection, contribution, and confidence. Those 3 pillars are now actually my values. That's what I found, and they actually became part of the whole journey. But these pillars in itself actually became a roadmap that actually started to guide me towards building a brand that didn't just truly resonate with me. It started to resonate with my team. Because there are going to be things that we all have to do that we don't want to do. There always is going to be things that we don't want to do. But being able to look at those things from our past that bring up those emotions will help us get through that next sales call, get through that next cold calling system, get through that next iteration of an SOP or doing stuff. Because when you're smaller, of course, that's all on you. Just really own your story and start to create your brand voice, start to create your values. This really wasn't about you figuring out your why. It's about empowering all of you to kind of take those necessary steps towards your specific brand journey. All right, well, welcome everyone. As you know, the whole thing is going from a me to a we to an us, as you are all aware. If you guys don't know me, my name is Colman. I own an agency. I've owned this agency since about 2017. And the real purpose of this whole talk, I want you guys to all understand, especially with you all being agency owners, because either you've gone through this period or you're going to be going through this period on your next valley of death situation in the growth of your agency. Is really the biggest thing that's going to make a difference is really starting to train your mindset around what makes that impact, how you guys are all going to make that impact in this world. And, to give you a little context on where this all started, I'm going to give you a little bit of story of mine. It really plays into what this whole webinar is going to be about today. My story really begins when I was in middle school. My dad is a retired NFL player. And so I had a lot of resentment and buildup of, especially at that age, is I wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps. I wanted to be just like him growing up. Though I will say I wasn't as good of as a player as my dad was. And I went through my young adult life really just finding my own path. I think we all do, right? We try to find our own path, what we're going to do. And it was that path that actually slowly started to lead myself to today. I ended up going to college at ASU after a few different situations on my young childhood of, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? I took up visual communications. I still have this urge of, I wasn't feeling seen or heard. And that really was something that's going to take a precedence into a lot of why I feel like a lot of us are entrepreneurs to begin with, is we want to be seen and heard for how great we are as people. And I found visual communications as a way in college to feel seen and heard. I felt a pleasure from helping other people feel seen and heard through the visual communication field. And that from there, like Mike kind of said in 2017, that just evolved. That just evolved over time. And through those experiences, really what happened is it sparked this desire in me to really be valued for who I truly am as a person. But how are we really going to drive other people if we don't know what's driving ourselves? And that driving force actually has continued to lead me in the path of branding. To help other people feel seen and heard, because that's what I long for. That's what I long for in my pursuit of the growth of my brand and my agency. And as I was going through my valley of death period a couple of years ago, you can always, of course, watch more on my TEDx if you want to hear a little bit more of that story. But But the truth be told that, you know, I was trying to pursue validation. I was trying to pursue, as you guys are all aware, you're trying to help clients get these metrics on a screen. You're trying to help them grow. And of course, through the help of that company as well, I was able to do that for a lot of my clients. And there was still this lack of motivation in me because I still felt like I lacked the purpose of what I longed for in my business, in my brand, for my life in general. And that absence of connection in my identity and who I was actually led me to burnout. I was following 80 different directions. I was trying to find my why here. I was like, oh, my vision's over here. Now let's switch over here. And I was grasping at everything I could to just make myself happy. I was plateauing in my business. And funny enough, I was even plateauing in my life. And so I started to feel this correlation between the two. I felt so disconnected, not just from myself. That disconnection also involved my team, my friends. I was no longer talking to my friends. I was having disconnect with my family, and I was even having disconnect with my existing clients. I didn't just lose my why, but I lost my confidence to pursue that why. So I went on this journey of self-reflection to realizing that if I really wanted to be authentic with other people, if I really wanted to tell people how it was and find myself, find others, I really had to connect with myself. I had to figure out who I was. I had to figure out my values and what really was going to help me drive this myself forward. And that clarity started to spark a birth of this brand that started to carry my voice, what I'm building, and it was unique to me. This built confidence in myself, and it started to be my guiding force to live my authentic self. So, anytime that any of you are having those little butterflies inside, those little butterflies towards what is the next resistance point in my growth, think about that for a second. Use those butterflies as a way to help you grow instead of as something that's holding you back. So this transformational journey started to have me, like I said, I had to go back. I had to go backwards. I had to go, what are my values? What are my aspirations? What is my voice? Like, what do I want to say to people? Really, what is my vision for my life and my company? Right. Uh, and I had to find a voice that was me, all me, mine alone, that resonated on with people on a much deeper level. Even though this impact isn't a get quick rich scheme, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes time, but I'm able to now start engaging with people on a much more emotional level. And I saw the connection between the growth I experienced personally in my profession as an agency owner. So you guys have all probably heard this statistic before. They always say about 90% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. But through this study through the University of California, they stated that most of these companies failed really because of the well-being and connection of the personal well-being of those business owners. People like you that own the business and what they're trying to achieve. So I had to think about it a little bit now I was going through my journey. And I really thought to myself, what if I could actually teach people how to grow themselves through understanding those basic branding principles, regardless of where they're at in business? How could that impact their life and really the collective good that we could all do as people if we actually started to represent ourselves, just like you see those world-class brands out there representing their beliefs, their message, and their values? Why can't we all do the same thing? And this is when I developed my 3 C's of branding. So my pursuit of uncovering these, I came up with connection, contribution, and confidence. And just to give you a little hint on a little workshop we're going to be doing later on today, those three pillars are now actually my values. That's what I found, and they actually became part of the whole journey. But these pillars in itself actually became a roadmap. It actually started to guide me towards building a brand that didn't just truly resonate with me. It started to resonate with my team. I started to bring on employees that valued the same things that I valued. I started to bring on clients that I actually wanted to serve, that actually wanted to be served by me because now we all value very similar things. You see, connection, it really just is all about you kind of uncovering your why. Uncovering that why with purpose. This is very crucial for your growth because you're going to start revealing aspects of yourself that you didn't even know were there. I mean, we all hear about we want to make it to $1 million, we want to make it to 2, we want to make it to 10. And that burnout that's caused by that, I'll be the first to tell you that I pretty much reached that number and I was not happy. And I had to look back at myself and say, well, what is the main purpose? What is my guiding force and what I'm trying to achieve? And so I had to define my essence and allow that to be a clarifying point in me that really drove me. Align my purpose with my why in life. And I had to use that towards the beginning of what I was trying to achieve. Next is contribution. This is when you take that why and you shape it into your who. You know, we all hear about contributing to the greater good, going out, building houses, feeding the homeless. That stuff's great and all. But the way I look at contribution is understanding what really resonates with you. What is the thing that you can do? What is the thing that you can contribute the most in this world and build your mindset towards a goal of contributing in that way, the best way you can. And a good example of this I talk about all the time is the emphasis of sales calls. If you're going to go into a sales call and you're going to go in it with the agenda of, I have to make that sale, I have to make that sale, I have to make that sale, 90% of the time, you're not going to make that sale. But if you're actually contributing to the greater good of your audience, understand them, you're willing to go above and beyond because you want to contribute that, then the sale will come a lot more naturally. You'll connect a lot more with the end user, and you'll also be able to probably make the sale better. Lastly is confidence. And this is where you express your purpose to your community. Leading confidently will not just help you, but it will help others. And building confidence will lead to your authentic voice, your messaging, your time management, even the assets you put out into the world. And as that confidence continues to rise, so will you, so will your brand. But it's that understanding of knowing that the confidence will continue to build and you'll have to look back. It will help you build something great. And a good example I like to put around this, being a marketing agency and a branding agency, I always kind of talk about it being my superpower. When I work with organizations or I'm looking to, let's say, hire someone, and you guys could probably all do a sense of this as well, is I will be able to look at it from the front facing view of the way they put out their messaging, the way they deliver their advertisements, the way their brand is. And I'll be like, even how the way that their culture is, even the way I try to contact someone, there's no human connection. They're not there to help. I'm not going to say AI because that's a whole different perspective, but there's stuff in there that you look at. I'm like, all right, this company has a whole marketing agenda. I have a feeling their product isn't that great because they're not really caring about the underlying aspect of the individual. They're at the point where top line is their main priority. And I'm not saying that's always spot on, but it's a way for you to understand that they're not really confident in the way they're spreading their message. They're more so just spreading themselves thin, doing as much as they can, hoping something will stick. And I'm going to give you an example of this. And you guys have already seen this example, all of us being in marketing. I think this is a great example. I use this analogy all the time for people that really don't understand brand. Um, you know, Payless did this whole study a few years back where they went to LA and they created Paylease, and it was really just a test example. And there's two things to take away from this. Um, but when they went there, they ended up building this, this store. They took their shoes and they marked it up by 400%, and people were raving about them. The people in the location were like buying them. They didn't really say much about the products. They were like, "Oh, this is great." Selling a $50 shoe for like $480. At the end, of course, they told them all that it was just Paylease and the shoes were 14 bucks. And they all laughed. They gave them their money back, blah, blah, blah. But that is a good example of Paylease really understanding who their audience is, how they can contribute to them, and really how they can confidently spread their message. I mean, they basically reinvented themselves, created a whole new brand, and sold a $14 shoe, which really that's just what they mark it up. So it's probably a $3 shoe, right, to build. And they were selling it to an audience that matched the confidence of the messaging and the visuals and all that fun stuff. And that's the first thing to kind of take away from a great example of understanding your who, what, and where, or being able to understand how you can contribute why. Now, the other thing to take away from this really sneaky one is it was really just a marketing ploy. Now, the people that were really their audience that they knew were going to buy $14 to $16 shoes were like, huh, so these could be $400. I'm actually getting these at a deal. And so now they're actually understanding the psychology of their audience. And I always thought that was a good way to showcase both of these examples to show how easily your brand can be perceived a certain way based off of understanding you or a we or an us, depending on how big you are and how you can relay that to your audience. Now, we're going to go through a process today. We're going to go through a little workshop today with all of you. And I hope that you guys all somewhat take at least a little bit of a part of it, because I do believe that the deep work is what really moves the needle with any organization, including myself, and being able to take time to really resonate with some certain things. And so we'll try to get through this as much as we can. And talk through, and I can answer Q&As towards the end of this on anything you guys like. But I really want to take a deep dive into the confidence pillar, really understanding of going back to those core values of me finding my core values again, and really helping giving you guys a fresh start on how can I actually find values that I live by and use that within my messaging to build more confidence and start training yourselves to be more confident, because that confidence is going to be the bedrock. And it's also going to really burn out, and it's going to, like I said, guide you towards being more confident. And so I'm going to go through a moment right now with you guys. And this is kind of a practice I like to do on occasions when either trying to evolve my values, or I feel like I personally, me as an individual, or we as a company, are lacking some direction in the stuff that we're going to do. And so, like I said, I used to play soccer, so I'm going to do this, and then I'll let you guys do it yourself. But I remember when I was a young kid, probably about 5 or 6 years old. I remember driving a little yellow Subaru with my family when they would drive me to a soccer game. I remember the smell of the grass. I remember the smell of the grass, that the freshly cut grass as we went to the soccer field. I remember that sense of winning a game and all of our teammates coming up, giving each other kudos. I also remember the taste of that Sunny D, that the parents would come by and they bring the Sunny D for after you won a game. If you've ever played soccer or sport when you were a kid, that sense brings me back to that sense of value I have of belonging, trying to belong with somebody, trying to belong with a team, trying to belong with clients, just trying to belong in general is a sense that I come from when I smell, when I hear, when I taste that Sunny D. I want you guys to all sit down. We're going to just take a couple minutes here. I want you all to remember a moment of joy from your past. Just try it. It could be yesterday. It could be a year ago. It could be a success that you had a year ago. It could be something as a child, teenager, whatever it may be. And I want you to just do a little bit of deep breathing, just in and out a little bit, just to kind of get your the other side of your brain working a little bit, and really try to focus on what you feel, hear, or smell during that period. So I'll let you guys, we'll sit in silent just for a couple of minutes here, and then we'll proceed. So hands up, does any of you do any of you want to be on the spot? That any of you want to tell us one of your memories, and maybe tell us some of your feelings, something that you smelt, heard, felt during during a memory of yours?
Renee, go for it, my friend.
I remember waffles, school waffles, Los Angeles School District breakfast as a kid was sheer happiness. So good times as a kid.
That's some good one. The waffles one is a great one. I love that smell of waffle. That smell of waffles. Does anyone else wanna give an example?
Yuma, go for it.
I'll take a talk about the quick snapshot of that day that was filled with joy. Um, you know, it was such a well-rounded day. Started with church and then went to a Spartan race. You just down the mud, you get the medal on your chest, and then we found a F1 race just doing at the Sebring Raceway. You smell the tires, you smell the engine, you hear the roaring sounds of these supercars going right next to you, and at night we see a meteorite and all that. It was such a well-rounded, joyful day.
Interesting. Interesting. I like that one. I like that one. Do you by chance have an audience that you focus on? But like I said, I can assure all of you that you all had some sort of smell, like the smell of waffles, the smell of the car engines, and those all pop into your head. And this is the perfect example of what your emotions can do, and the power you really have on other people, right? If you're able to take back and you're supposed to look at these positive memories you have, I mean, how much more authentic and happy do you feel when you're out there spreading your message? So I always like to use these as exercises for not just where I'm at in the business, but even my mornings. Because there are going to be things that we all have to do that we don't want to do. There always is going to be things that we don't want to do. But being able to look at those things from our past that bring up those emotions will help us get through that next sales call, get through that next cold calling system, get through that next iteration of an SOP or doing stuff. Because when you're smaller, of course, that's all on you. So going from a me to a we is now taking those powerful memories that you guys all have, and how do you articulate those memories into values that you can then articulate into a we. Start bringing other people on the team that may may have similar values as you, and then you'll both, or all of you, will start to head towards the same vision of the company. And to go to a we, which I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, you go to an us, that stuff starts to then resonate with your audience, right? And so just think about those emotions. Come up with two or three of those. Come up with two or three of those as you guys continue to just through your daily practice, and so you can start trying to bring some values and emotions back in your life. I mean, I get it. Money's the money will come. Profits profits are always needed. We always have to think about the money that we're making, but you'll start to learn over time that profit really does underline community. That sense of community I have my with my soccer team is what's driving me to be able to find people within my organization to build collaboration with, because I sense that sense of we. I want to work with you. I want to have this community. And that says the same thing about your product or your service on a much more personal and intimate level, right? Depending on how you are differentiating yourselves, which is part of figuring out your values, right? How are you differentiating yourself? But overall, that community is going to urge growth. So the community like this community right here, these calls urge us to grow. We have a community of people that are going through like-minded situations, partners that are there for us. You just need to allow yourself to do the same and to allow people into your life to start building that community so that you could start to thrive and grow on a much deeper level. The brands that achieve that kind of confidence, connection, and contribution, those are the ones that forever live in the hearts of their customers. Those are the ones that will always come back and purchase more, will be your advocates to bring you more clients. Yes, it's not advertisement, but you need that community to help push you along and to help your company and your agency grow. It could be, of course, going back to what we all do, it could be how do we provide the right results for our clients and finding a way to build that advocacy with existing clients to be able to have them bring more clients. I mean, there's many strategies around how you can build that community, but there's always something there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little exercise. We're going to do a little exercise with everyone. You should have got a download. You should have got a download for this that you guys can just use yourself, write it on the computer or print it out. I'm full-fledged. Like, I like to use a journal now, and I like to write everything out by hand because I feel like it just allows more to come out. But you're more than welcome to do it around the computer. And we're going to really do what we would do in a normal brand discovery for a company. I'm going to do with you guys on a much more messaging and a personal level. And so we're going to go try to really figure out with those thoughts that we had, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And so we're going to start off and we're going to kind of go through brand voice a little bit here. What really is brand voice? As you're all know, I want you guys, when we're going through this, I want you to imagine that you're all telling a story. And how does your brand interact with those people? You can use the stories in your head and the thoughts that you had. Those will really help resonate with some things for you. But what kind of words do you say? What kind of visuals? Even down to what kind of actions you may be doing. Your brand voice, of course, needs to be consistent. It needs to be recognizable. But overall, your brand voice will be your narrator. It sets the tone, style, and feeling. And I like to give this example. I mean, because I think we all know Morgan Freeman. And look at his brand voice. Like, he has a distinct voice. And every time you hear him talk, you know it's him. Like, you just know it's him. And there could be other people that you have that same aspiration for, or movie characters that you see having a brand voice that hey, this is what they're giving me. I get it. But your brand voice is going to be something that's going to help you stand out. This could be going up on stage. This could be doing a webinar. This could be talking to a client. This could be talking to a prospect. This could be talking and leading your team. I want you to think of the feelings you experienced during that memory. And that feeling should help you guide to finding what your true voice is. So the goal today is really how we can start building an authentic voice that you can confidently continue to utilize to start leading by example with what you're trying to do. And by understanding this, you can create a brand that not only looks good, but also makes people feel good. That's really what we're going after here, right? So I want you guys to write down on the left side. Here, just some adjectives, that you may come up with off the top of your head. I mean, in the future, if you want to do this personally, definitely you can use a thesaurus, what resonates with you, but start coming up with some adjectives and start listing them. Listing them on the left side. And then what you're going to do is, how do you feel when you talk in this way? So you want to make sure those adjectives really resonate. And that's where we go back to the story, really resonate with you. So you guys are all able to start this as I'm chatting. I'm just trying to give you some examples here. Um, but if you have a fragmented voice, it's really impossible for you to start creating a brand narrative, to you to get people to buy, for you to have a narrative, because you're choosing how your market is going to perceive you. It's choppy. I don't know what they sell, for instance, and they won't necessarily think about you if they can't trust you. So I'm going to just give everyone just a couple minutes here, not too long, just a couple of minutes. I want this exercise to be very spontaneous. I want you to kind of think about the first things that come to your mind, because you're going to be able to div dive deeper into this later. I like that. Mike, you put yours on the screen, and I put it down, so I wanna.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind sharing in the chat, we'd love to see what you put. By the way, this worksheet is available for you guys to download. Put the link in the chat as well. You'll see that Google Drive link where we've got it for you. So feel free if you want to actually have it to fill out later. Yeah, we'd love for you guys to actually share if you don't mind.
And think about when you're writing these, how do you feel when you're talking in this way? How do you feel when these aren't necessarily have to be words, but it's nice to write them down. You feel confident when, I'm just going to use it as an example. I mean, I don't like to cuss. The Gary Vee loves to cuss. Like, nothing against him. It's not my brand, but he loves to. So you feel more energized when you say certain things, or you talk about certain things within your product that really resonate, that no one else is talking about. There's all different types of examples there. But yeah, let me go. I'm trying to find the chat. There it is, right in front of my face. Relationship oriented, enthusiastic, reliable, confident, honest, results driven. Yeah. And what's funny is you in particular, Mike, I see that. Like, I don't even need to, you don't even need to write those words down. I can tell you're confident. When I watch your ads, I'm like, oh, I know he's enthusiastic, and he's honest, because you've built that around your life personally and around the company. And so I see that anytime that I come to you guys for work, for instance, I already know, like, hey, like, I trust them. And if I don't, like, you and I have had conversations in the past, you're willing to work on certain situations because you're honest and you're confident and you're results driven. You want the best for the clients. And so I love those adjectives. And so community driven. Ooh, that's a good one. I love the community driven, woman empowerment, consistent, honest. I love community driven, humble. I think humble's a great one.
Yeah. Well, we look to come forward as exceptionally competent individuals, never above feedback and improvement. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. Unstoppable, innovator of my own path. Feeling, ooh, I like you because you put feelings too. Industrious, designer of opportunity, anonymous. And see, that's great too, because now you're starting to build, Dominique, you're starting to build, if you put those within your voice and what you're trying to do, like, you're probably always going out there um, and helping people with opportunity. I do know one of our biggest values is that connection is connection, right? And so if I have a prospect that comes to us and they're not a right fit, I don't just tell them no. I'll be like, would you like me to find someone that would be better suited for your situation? I'll make a connection for you, because why not? We're all in this together. And what that does is that brings someone that's able to have connection. So, I'll say that in all my messaging. I'm like, if you're not the right fit, like, I'm not just like F you. I'm like, I'll go and I'll help you find someone that's a better suit for you, if that's needed. And that builds trust, right? So I make sure that my voice resonates with that. Um, so just so I don't get off the beaten path here, now that I've got that going. Here's the fun part now. You've come up with some of your adjectives, and your actual, your feelings around those adjectives. Now, I want you to really think about the importance of you understanding the feeling of those adjectives, is because I'm a big preacher of living by your values, living by them. If you don't live by their values, they're not a value. Either they're not a company value, and you don't really have a we company, you still have a me company, or you're personally just not, you just haven't found them yet, or you've evolved. There's nothing wrong with evolving. And so your feelings are really going to probably dictate your best four that you put in here. Because if you put something in there and you're like, yeah, hustle, and you're like, actually, when I think about hustle, it gives me anxiety. I'm like, well, then you shouldn't use anxiety. You shouldn't use it as you should use it as a value then, because no one wants anxiety, right? So I want you all to like think about this and go to your left side, write the four best adjectives that suit best for the emotions that you had around them for you. Don't think about anyone else, just think about you. And then I want you to just write you don't have to write a rough description right now, but just to give yourself why, like a description why, like you're honest, or honest because I feel like that's the right thing to do. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Um, but then here's where you have your do's and don'ts. And this do's and don'ts is going to be tailored back to the actions, the messaging that you provide, you send out to the world. Like for instance, I'm a big advocate, of confidence. And so I'm a very big advocate of I don't have an ego. I don't have any of my team having an ego. So when we write, if I have like a misspelling or one of my teams has a misspelling, I don't go in and I don't hound them. Or if somebody comes on and says, you misspelled this wrong, I don't go and fix it and say, oh my gosh, like it's like it happens, and we just move on. And we learn from it. How can we fix that situation for future? Like, how's that 1% better to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen again? So, uh, that's what would be a do, right? And then what do you don't do? For me, I don't have an ego. To me, an ego stands for I'm not willing to learn and grow. I think we're all willing to learn and grow. So I always say to our team, like, I don't like anyone on our team that has an ego, because if you have an ego, you're not willing to allow yourself to learn and grow and possibly change as necessary towards the growth of what we're trying to evolve. And so that would be something like that. And then what you can do is you can actually take a persona that you work with from a psychological counterpart and think, okay, which one of my types of clients really resonates with this way of speaking. So you can now start looking at it from that perspective. Um, and there's all different types of audiences that have different reactions to different personas. I mean, to different values, right? And so a great example is, building a community of people from a certain type of organization that other people may not resonate with. I don't like bringing politics or religion in here. So, it could be a Democrat versus a Republican, though, for an example. Like, that's a really broad one, but you know, saying certain things may not resonate with another person, but think about a certain type of persona and how they would react to you being confident. If you're working with moms, for instance, if you're, like you said, woman empowerment, maybe you're working with moms and your value is woman, you really empower. And I would probably go deeper on that value, woman empowerment. There has to be something deeper than that's not really a value, but something deeper on why woman empowerment could be a value. But you probably wouldn't be cussing. I mean, I take it a lot of moms probably are in the mode of children and don't like cussing, or that maybe they just don't like cussing in general. So think about that kind of stuff. And I want you guys to all put this down. And what this is really going to do is it's going to help you understand as you're continuing to grow and evolve and you're starting to work with certain types of audience or bring certain people into your organization. This is the way you have to, this is the way you have to talk. And this is the way you don't have to talk. Being a leader and bringing on certain people or others, or getting clients, you can never really counteract the psychological counterpart of the demo. So you never know. Everyone's different. Just no matter what, everyone's different. They've got all different experiences. And so think about that. Does anyone want to, I've been chatting this whole time. Does anyone want to give any examples of just maybe one value and a do's and don'ts and someone that how they would speak to a certain type of individual because of that? And it should be natural because these are your values. So, does anyone want to give an example?
I can if needed, but I like letting other people talk before me.
I, there's a lot of, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of resistance towards this type of stuff. And I get it, you know, certain points of of everyone's evolution, they start to, it takes time to start to get into or get used to the deep work. But this is the type of stuff that you are all going to have to do if you're going to lead and lead clients or lead by example in the future. And so there's nothing wrong with exercising this side of your brain. But let's persona reaction to those values. I finally have a white label partner that genuinely cares about my agency's success. I feel like they're an extension of my team, not just a vendor. I think that's a great example because I do the agency world a lot. Especially right now with AI, that people think that they want automation when in reality they want connection. Um, and so I know for a fact that that resonates with me because I'd rather have someone that I can talk to and connect with. I value that more. So think about it in that terms. When you're doing this stuff, I value that. And your audience will value that too. Let's find one more. See if anyone else know. Honesty. This is a huge one. This was a hard one for me to battle too, is the honesty. Because not saying I'm not honest, it's just really hard to be honest when, you have prospects coming on the call and they're, you know, splatting their words about this other agency said they're going to bring me a million clients, and you're like, doesn't really work that way. Knowing that you're probably going to lose them, but you will get the one or two that do appreciate the honesty and that they will stay. And those are the ones you want as genuine clients, right? Um, so I don't really see any other answers here. So I know this is a long one. So what I do highly recommend is sit on it for a little bit. And maybe when you guys all have an hour of your time, like really get into this, like really spend an hour. I promise you that it will, I'm not going to say change your lives, but it will lead you down a path of less burnout and guidance towards your audience and or the types of people that you want to bring into your organization.
Yeah, big upvote on the type of people you want to bring into your organization, right? Because if they don't align with that, I mean, we've made hires and then go, oh wow, they don't really align with us on X, Y, and Z related to one of those values, and then it doesn't work because they were never meant to be here.
I'll give you some. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
And actually making sure you've got interview questions structured around those values ensures that you're setting yourself up for success, not just hoping that it translates into, oh, they're super competent, but do they align on the values? That's so important.
It's really hard, but we do the same thing. I actually have another presentation that we work with our audience where it goes more deeper into those values. And it's really comes down to it's really how do you understand behavior and what kind of behaviors are you going to want in your organization? And if you have certain guide around you, I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect, but you're going to have people that are going to resonate. I had someone in my organizations a couple of years ago. I loved her. Issue was I kind of put her in the wrong spot, but eventually, about 6 months in, not 6 months, it was like 2 months in, she started to ask for more money already. And it was like, dude, you're only 2 months into this position. I understand you're working hard, but we have, when you got hired that we have a 3-month sign on. And I learned over time, once I started to get back into my values, I looked at my hand like she had an ego. And I was like, oh, that's why she didn't work out, is because she had an ego and she didn't have confidence, And so I agree with Mike. What Mike's saying is 100% correct. This worksheet right here is great for your messaging, But you can also utilize this same worksheet, funny enough, because it's very similar to your hiring process, taking those values, writing certain situations down instead of the description. Like, for instance, when was the last time you dealt with a client and what did you do about it? Like, what did you do about that situation? From a connection standpoint, I always want to hear an experience of, oh, well, we reached out to the client, we made sure everything was all right. If it wasn't, then we suggested what we can change, and then we worked with them to fix the scenario. If someone comes on and is like, I told them that they were wrong and that we, didn't want to, that we're going to do it this way. I'm like, well, that person has an ego, right? And so those are guides that you can utilize for hiring. It's very important. And it's a learning curve, but I think that you can all get there. So just to really wrap up, I'll have a couple minutes to do Q&A if any of you guys have questions. Just really own your story and start to create start to create your brand voice, start to create your values. This really wasn't about you figuring out your why. It's about empowering all of you to kind of take those necessary steps towards your specific brand journey. That power of connecting with yourself and learning to contribute to the common good, you know, and contributing to that narrative that you want to leave in this world, I think is the most important takeaways that you can take away from this presentation. That's it. Anyone have any questions for me? They can relate to the presentation or not the presentation. I don't really care. You can ask me what kind of animals I have if you want.
Zach, thank you so much for doing this. If we have any questions, guys, or any input, we'd love that. Hey, it's my daughter. So we have anything we want to ask of Zach? Dominique.
Hello. I thought about this many, many times about my own personal brand.
Mm.
Uh, but that's why I already have my words that are really that I always gravitate to. Um, but I haven't really gone deeper than I already have when it comes to the values in the company. When they talk about if you've ever heard those levels of why. And so I kind of stopped at level 2. But I'm in this session, I'm just dive deeper with those values. Go to the 5th level of why, you know, why this and why this value, why this, that kind of a thing. So, low key, thank you for that. Because that was a great realization that I had. And then my other, well, this the actual question, um, and it's completely adjacent to this, but I am bringing on a new cohort of interns in my agency, which I'm really I got the opportunity to partake in this opportunity and just wanted to just ask if you'd be willing to do this workshop with them. I think it would be something that, especially at an earlier age, if they're exposed to this, it would really benefit them greatly. And you are free to tell me no. So it is completely okay.
Remember when I told you about my value being connection? I'd be more than happy to have this conversation. The more I can help other people, especially other agency owners, and other people just like find their place,
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy. So Mike can definitely, if you want to make that introduction, I'd love to do that.
Sure. Thank you very, very much. I think, especially, and for anyone who hasn't done this work, it really does help to not only set yourself apart, but if you do it with your clients, it really helps to help them pierce through the noise. We see it all the time in our agency. And so couldn't wait for this session. I just love it every time. So thank you, Zach. Really, really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dominique. Renee, last one, and then we actually have to close it out. So Renee, go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. Well, first, appreciate the thoughts as far as leaning into who you are. I didn't think this would be useful, but it actually is, as far as leaning into your personal brand. Question: as far as using this knowledge to guide how you operate versus overburdening your clients with your message of how you operate, do you find yourself needing to balance those two? Because you could talk about yourself 24/7. The customer's like, oh my God, okay, I get it. Do you feel the need to balance those, living it versus sharing it?
No. Um, Realistically, if you're living it, then it will show. If you're doing your if you're talking about like bombarding people with like, hey, these are our values, this is what we live by, like, hey, you can have a dedicated page towards that, and showcase that to them. You can have it in like sales situations if you want to, but overall, from the operations standpoint, they'll see it, they'll feel it. Like, so let's take for example my sense of confidence, right? So we have in all of our Monday morning meetings, one of our line items is confidence. And so the team goes through things from the past week, and I say, hey, what are the things that you guys that we worked on last week that and everyone says I should change this, but I do it on purpose, is that you fail with. Like, what did you fail at last week? It could be anything. Um, and I try to unburden on them of failures aren't bad things, they're good things. And so I really try to be like, hey, like, what'd you fail at? Okay, how can you do 1% better in that case scenario? And so doing that in itself and having my team resonate with that and understanding that, so do my clients, because my clients are the ones having conversations with the team and the prospects on the team. Like, that's just how the connection in the living works. You're going to bringing more people in based off of the way you act, based off of the way you feel. And you'll start to find more people that are in alignment with with that same perspective as you continue to go out there and try to spread your message. And so I don't think that you necessarily have to spray the wall with it. The companies I see do that are, and nothing against them, but are the companies that aren't living their values. Every time I have a company come in and be like, here are our values, and I'm like, did you just hire some random person to come up with 4 values for you? And they're like, yeah, we just needed it. I'm like, they're just not living by their values, right? So, that one always just grinds my gears a little bit. But overall, overall, yeah, those are the companies that that they don't resonate with values, so they're not my type of client. I that's a factor right there of me saying, yeah, I don't think that we're gonna be. Um, the ones that do will see that you resonate with your values through the way you do your operations, through the way you set up your meetings, through the way that you do all that stuff. And I can't tell you what that is because they're not my values. So you're going to have to figure those out yourself and do them yourself. But I hope that answered your question.
I'll add to that conversation real quick. So we actually give all of our partners emails to drip out to folks after they've scheduled a meeting, and they drip them out before the meeting and or after the meeting. Doesn't matter, like, whether it was before or after, but that way it kind of keeps them engaged, but it actually covers a lot of those values. So the emails that we give you guys cover, the first one's about how we use data to create success, right? Why we do the competitor analysis, the purpose of it. Transparency, our approach to transparency, because that's a big problem in the agency world for a lot of customers, right? They've dealt with transparency problems and how we approach that. Communication and our standards around communication. The how we're anti over promising and under delivering. Those are the kind of emails. And then, the partners that are actually dripping those out, we have seen have higher show rates, more enthusiastic people showing up going, wow, you guys really are speaking to me. And then we're also seeing, higher close rates as a result. I mean, one of our partners literally started dripping them out, and he's like, a client literally came to the meeting, was like, I printed out your emails. That's how meaningful they were. So, just know that's a resource we give you guys. Um, so anyways, I don't think you can, I think if you're not living it out and you're just talking about it, then stop, right? Right. That's not helpful. But if you're actually living it out, it's okay to talk about it and insert it into points of the conversation, but you make it about the customer, right? So you don't make it about you, you make it about them and why these values matter. Um, and that's what those emails kind of do in general. So we are out of time, Zach. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this and invest into this community. And guys, if you want to connect with Zach, just send me a message. Happy to do that. Dominique and Zach have already introduced you guys via email, so that is done. And then if you guys didn't get to it, inside the chat is that worksheet. If you need it, just email me. I'll also email it out to you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.